What's up, everybody? We're back and we are going to be working in the garden today. I have goals to go ahead and get at least all of the tomatoes out into the garden. I'm hoping I can get a little bit more. So let's go back a little bit. Hi, hello. My name is Bree. Welcome to Simply a Brace if you're new here. And it is currently May 28th. I get married June 8th, and then we're going on our honeymoon. So all of this stuff needs to be done before all of that. So I need to get the rest of these plants taken care of, put out into the ground. We're not supposed to be dipping below 45 degrees from the foreseeable future. So we just got to get it done. So that's what we're going to get done today. Come along with me as I try and figure out how I'm going to coordinate all of this mess, because I grew way more tomatoes than I originally thought. And we're going to see what happens and what I end up doing with it all. So if this is something you're interested in, you want to see how we're innovative and making decisions on the fly, come along, and we're just going to garden today. Okay, so these are all of my indeterminate tomatoes. I currently have over 21 indeterminate tomatoes, and I'm not 100% sure where I'm putting them all. So that's also going to be a fun challenge to figure out. But over here we also have parsley, we have basil, a variety of peppers that I don't really know what they are, with the exception of a couple of these that I got from my mom. And so those are sugar rush peach peppers because none of mine germinated this year. That's a variety of peppers, don't know what they are. We got a nice tomatillo plant, and then indeterminate tomatoes, and then more pepper plants. These tomatoes right here are my Romas, so I know they are determinate tomatoes. And then we got a couple more tomatillos, unknown peppers, a nice peppermint plant is over there on the side. We've got some flowers and more unknown peppers. So we are going to go ahead and see where we want to put all of this stuff into these garden beds. So, indeterminate tomatoes versus determinate tomatoes. They are different in the sense that indeterminate tomatoes will keep growing tall and vining out, and they'll essentially keep going until the plant eventually dies and from the first frost or disease. And those are generally a vining type of tomato. Determinate tomatoes, on the other hand, will only get so tall. At one point, they will stop growing in height, and they generally put on their fruit about the same time. So the plant will produce all of its fruit at once and then stop growing and die. The way that they grow is different. And so what I'm planning on doing here is I want all of my indeterminate tomatoes to grow up this trellis arch that I have set up. I've actually added 2 since last year. And so I have 3 trellis arches in the front, and then I have 1 trellis panel in our backyard as well. And I'm going to put my indeterminate tomatoes along all of those so they can trellis up the panels and the archways. That way I can have more growing space. So at the end of the growing season last year, I went ahead and prepped my beds, and essentially I put them to bed for the year at the end of the year. And basically what that meant was I collected all of the leaves that I could find on our property. We're surrounded by trees, so it wasn't very hard. And I was collecting a whole bunch of cardboard boxes. So I laid cardboard boxes down on top of the garden beds, and then I threw a bunch of leaves on top of the garden beds. And this practice actually helps protect the soil in the sense that weeds and stuff have a harder time taking root and finding a place to grow inside of the bed because it's not open to the elements. And it helps keep nutrients from being depleted and creatures from digging and burrowing inside of our beds as well. We don't have moles or voles in our area, so I'm not worried about that. And we have a couple of rabbits, but they're not really an issue. My big concern is like a squirrel digging in my garden bed, cats digging in my garden bed, or weeds growing into the garden beds, because it's really hard to maintain that way. And so this method is what I did, and I was actually really impressed with the quality of the beds when I took the cardboard and all of the leaves off. And this bed is the last bed that I needed to get the cardboard taken off and all of the leaves off. We have 9 tomatoes in the ground, guys. What I'm doing here is I'm pulling off, I did this for all of my tomatoes, not just this one, but what I did to my tomatoes was I went ahead and I pulled off some lower leaves before I planted them, because tomatoes, if you plant the stem in the ground, it will throw roots out from the stem. So I'm pulling off some leaves so that way I can plant my tomato plant deeper into the ground and it can throw out more roots, making it, one, stronger, two, allowing it to grab more nutrients to support it, and also you want to remove leaves because you don't want any leaves touching the soil. You want to avoid having your leaves touch the soil because it'll promote disease in your tomato plants. So to avoid that, I also pull off some of the lower leaves. That way my tomatoes grow strong and healthy. So this soil that is currently in my garden beds is now on its second year. And when we first got it, it didn't actually contain a whole lot of nutrients. It's pretty nutrient deficient. So I've really had to amend the soil last year before I put my beds to bed. I put in a bunch of fertilizer to help add nutrients back into the soil. And then that way, as the snow melted and it turned into water, it would seep through and it would soak into the deeper parts of the garden bed. Well, this year, as I'm planting everything out, I decided to buy a whole bunch of blood meal, which will help provide more nitrogen into my soil. So as I'm planting everything out, I sprinkle a little bit of blood meal into the hole and then around the soil, and then I go ahead and I put my tomato plants and my pepper plants, and I do this for all of my planting on this day and the following day. And once you get all of your plants transplanted into the new soil, you want to give that soil a good soak for a couple of reasons. The first reason is your plants are actually going to be in some shock. They're in a new environment, so they're going to be shocked. The second reason is you want to make sure that the soil around them gets compacted and there's no air pockets, because that can promote mold and bacteria growth, which could also promote disease. So you want to make sure you get the soil nice and soaked, and that way your plants will have water to drink from to help ward off the shock, but also to make sure that the soil doesn't develop any disease that will harm your plants as well. All right, and lastly, we've got all of our tomatoes. all of our jalapenos, or wow, all of our tomatillos planted. We're gonna get these potatoes in the ground, and then I'll bring you back the next time we're out here. I'm hoping my potatoes do far better than they did last year. So last year they started out really, really strong. However, by mid-season, we were getting so much rain and the soil just wasn't able to drain fast enough. And our potatoes got waterlogged and it kind of killed off the plant and the leaves. So whatever tubers and potatoes that were grown were it. That's all I was going to get for the year. So I harvested some. They were all rather small. I didn't get any like large potatoes. So we got like tiny little baby potatoes, which is okay. We ate them. They were still delicious. But this year I am hoping for far better success with our potato plants. I need to go ahead and get this soil uncompacted. Not much grew here last year, so the soil's gotten pretty dense. So all I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the soil, incorporate some lighter soil as well before I go ahead and get my potatoes into the ground, because the potatoes are a root vegetable. They need the ability to grow within the soil, and if the soil's too compact, it'll also cause some problems. So I'm just lifting up the soil, trying to create some air pockets and lighten and fluff it up. So it's a lot of work because this was very compacted soil. So I'm really glad I did this. And Reid and I think at the end of this garden season, or at the beginning of next garden season, before we go ahead and get started, we're going to go ahead and kind of till everything to help loosen all the soil up, which can be a good thing. I was trying the no-till method. The problem is with garden beds, the soil will slowly compact. So we may need to till it every now and then just to refluff it and make sure it's not dense. I will see you guys next time when we're planting out all of our peppers and everything else that's left. I think it's mostly peppers though, and some flowers. Whew. What's up, everybody? It is now Saturday. I didn't get back to the garden again later the week, so it is now the weekend, and we need to get this garden finished because we are getting married in a week and then we're going on our honeymoon. So the garden needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. And so I'm doing it in the middle of the day because the mosquitoes are low. That way I'm not getting eaten by mosquitoes. My fiance Reid is gonna help me finish it all up. So just come along with me as I get the rest of these peppers, some cabbage, lots of lettuce, one kale plant, and then flowers into the ground last minute. I did spend most of the morning this morning with my neighbor getting soil, composted manure put on all of the beds, so the beds should be nice and nutrient dense now. So we're back at it, and we're gonna get these jalapenos in the ground. There's far more than jalapenos. I've got a wide variety of peppers to include bell peppers, sugar rush peach peppers, not hot jalapenos, cayennes, marconi, and banana peppers. So I'm pretty excited for how our peppers are going to do this year. I'm hoping because I put them in a better spot, they're going to do far better this year. I forgot to hit record. My bad. But we have one bed of peppers planted, and that's pretty exciting. So I'm sorry you guys missed that. I'll keep you recording now for the rest of it. I just accidentally ripped this guy out of his thing. So we're gonna get him in the ground real quick and see if he survives. Yeah. Hopefully he'll recover. figure out where to put these cabbages. Or cauliflower. This cauliflower threw out a root into another cell.
Sweet.
Oh, what?
Oh, I'll have you look at this when you're done.
Look at what?
Look back and tell me what you think.
Okay.
Let me get your input.
Thanks, babe. I don't 100% remember what flowers are what, so good luck, flowers. How's it going back there?
I got the back finished.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll sort over here, I guess. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good?
I'm good.
Everything's finished?
Getting things done.
Oh, why aren't you done yet?
Oh, because there's a lot to be done. In this bed specifically, I am putting all of my determinate tomatoes, which are my Romas, because I'm going to go ahead and put these tomatoes in tomato cages. Because they only get so tall, they actually do really well in tomato cages, and so I figured I would put them separate from the rest of my tomatoes. That way I would know what is what. But Roma tomatoes have a pretty distinctive shape, so they're not really hard to tell that they're a Roma tomato, but I wanted to keep all of my Romas in one particular spot, so I'm planting them all at the end of this bed, because the end of this bed still gets some really good sun, whereas if we go any further back, the sun is rather restricted due to the maple trees that are planted along the other side of the fence due to the HOA. So I decided to go ahead and put my peppermint, my pineapple mint, and my oregano into pots because it will help keep them contained and help prevent them from spreading like weeds. These types of plants, peppermint and oregano, will grow and they will spread and they throw out runners. And if I were to put them into my garden beds, they would eventually start taking over, and I feel like they would get away from me and end up being too much to manage. So this is my solution. Making sure that I can keep them under control and tame is putting them in their own individual pots. And so far, so good. I'm happy with the outcome. Oregano. We got everything done today. And then some. My back 100% hurts, but the garden is planted, so Reid and I are ready to go to our wedding, honeymoon, and know that the garden is taken care of and everything is set. Tomorrow I may just plant out some more seeds. I think I just want to get some flowers and maybe a couple more radishes in the ground. But other than that, the garden for 2024 is officially in the ground, planted, and ready to go. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you found it interesting. Let me know down in the comments if you garden and what you like to garden for specifically. But I will see you guys next time. We are either in the garden, in the kitchen, or talking about basic needs and life skills that everybody should know. And it's a good thing I'm wrapping it up because the rain is coming. So have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.